In the southwest of Japan, 200 miles away from Tokyo, lies the rural town of Shigaraki. All rural towns and villages grow rice. Rice planting used to be done by hand. Now all rice planting in Japan is mechanized. Even in Shigaraki. But Shigaraki is not just any rural town, it has its own special feature. It makes pottery, a tradition going back over 1,000 years. Everywhere in Shigaraki there are family potteries, each making its own pots and cups and bowls, and more recently animal ornaments for gardens. One animal in particular has become the symbol of Shigaraki, the raccoon. All over town there are yards with raccoon ornaments on show. Raccoons are painted on the local train. A raccoon stands on the railway station platform saying welcome. Other raccoons, small and big, stand at the station entrance. And everywhere townsfolk have raccoon ornaments outside their houses. The Japanese emperor once visited Shigaraki, and he bought an ornamental frog there. Since then, frogs have been another standard product of Shigaraki potteries, though other birds and animals are not forgotten. There is only one Westerner living in Shigaraki, Stephen Williams, seen here with his wife Yuki. They live there because Stephen likes pottery, and today he is visiting Mr. Imai's pottery. This particular type of pot, a rather large one, is made in 2 halves. The clay needed for each half is prepared in advance.
The 2 halves are now joined together. Now he puts his hand inside and he joins up the joint. He joins the 2 pieces inside as well. This will then stay in the plaster mould for several hours before the plaster mould is removed and the finished article will be cleaned up and you'll see no joint at all.
Mr. Imai is going to apply the glaze himself, probably for our benefit, I think. This is the glaze material. The pot would then be fired and come out looking like this. A small electric motor is inserted in the pot for pumping water. A pot like this is used in a home to give the sound of running water, a sound rather drowned out here by the machines in the factory. This 100-year-old building with its tall chimney is another pottery. The display cases show a wonderful variety of pots made here. Pottery pieces have to be baked or fired twice, once to make the clay hard and the second time to burn in the glaze. Nowadays, pottery ovens, or kilns as they're called, usually use electricity or gas, and each pottery has 2 or 3 such kilns, fairly small ones. In olden days, wood was used as fuel. A pottery might have had its own kiln like this one, though the town had a big kiln for joint firings. This town kiln had several large chambers built up a hill, which improved the flow of heated air. Stephen tells us how such a kiln used to operate.
Here we see the firebox. This is the front of the kiln. Here we see the opening of the first chamber, and there are shelves inside, ceramic shelves with pots which have been already fired, just to show how it would look on opening the kiln. Here we see at the end of the chamber a round hole. That is where those firing the kilns will throw the wood. Every 10 minutes they will open up the hole and throw wood in to the centre of the chamber. And also from this end, which is open at present, will be closed up with these ceramic blocks.
Carry on.
Now we're actually inside the kiln, and at the bottom of the kiln are vents where the flames will come up and come up to the top of the chamber, come down through the ware, which would be on shelves here, and then through the shelves here you see other vents, and the flames will be drawn out through there into the next chamber. These shelves have years of glaze deposited on them. Much of the glaze is natural in that it's wood ash which has fallen onto the shoulders of the pots and then is melted on by the great temperature. And if you look at the ceiling, you can see where the soft clay has been placed over the ceiling where there were cracks and so on, and these would continually have to be repaired.
So how old are these kilns?
These kilns could be hundreds of years old. Though it may cost about £16,000 or more to fire the whole kiln, you would certainly get a lot of pots out of each chamber to make it worth your while.
How long would it be since this was actually in use? Years or
I think it would be about 60 or 70 years ago that it was last fired. When this was being fired, it would have been used for fire pots, what the Japanese call hibachi, which the old-fashioned form of heating a Japanese home. I'm going to make some mugs. First I have to weigh up the clay, and that's not enough, but I've weighed up some clay here. The clay has been weighed up, and I throw it into the centre of the wheel. I now wet my hands to lubricate them. And I have to get the clay into the centre of the wheel. I then make a hole in the lump of clay and I pull the clay out. Then I pull the clay in again. I use a bamboo tool to compress the clay. Then with an even pressure I pinch the clay between my fingers and the clay comes up. I then go down to the bottom of the pot again and I do the pinching and pulling process again. And I smooth the rim. Then I take a fine wire and I cut through the base of the pot. I then scrape my hands clean and I lift the very wet, soft pot off the wheel. Then I start the process again.
It is time to say goodbye, sayonara, to the raccoons and other garden ornaments, and to Stephen and Yuki.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
In Shigaraki, the rural town with a long tradition of pottery. Sayonara.